Hey, welcome. This is Dr. John Bush for the process. This is lesson 132, consistency of the median. You should go all the way back. I think it's lesson 128 where I started this journey. And today in this lesson, we are going to focus, I believe, on running backs. Okay, we're actually going to use statistical analysis to confirm or not whether looking at consistency in running backs is something that is predictive. And by predictive, I mean, can we use it uh, for the upcoming 2022 season? Okay. So is it predictive? People say it's actionable. I believe I've heard that term. So actionable data. And I'm not just satisfied with guess. I actually want to put it through a statistical process and have some foundational confidence, I guess, in how good the predictions, these consistency numbers actually are. And again, you need to go back to follow up, and you can then come back here and continue with the running backs. And let's see what's next. So the title of this uh, tabular data is last year's running back consistency of the median metrics, and I do that in percentage. And I divided last year's data into high consistency, medium, and low versus then the next year. So what I am doing is, and I think I started 2014, so I would use 2014's consistency data, what I call COM data, to predict uh, how good it would be in 2025 and so forth. So I moved that window through, and the last one, of course, was 2020, predicting 2021. And then I gathered all the highs, mediums, and low from last year, and then looked at the next year and put their COM scores, and then ask, kind of some simple statistical questions. Is there a difference or not, basically? Is there any predictive or not? And I think you can probably take a scan through the columns here. And to me, I define the COM score at greater than 30%. And you're saying, well, I thought with quarterbacks you did higher. Yes, quarterbacks are more consistent than running backs. So you need to kind of put that in your pipe, smoke that, and think about what that means in your drafts. But, you know, it is what it is as far as consistency of the positions. And so the next step is I take a look at the populations. Because part of statistical analysis is looking at variation within populations. You're asking, are these populations the same really? If they are, then any differences you're seeing are probably not real, right? So if you just looked at trees and you'd say, that's not really descriptive. When you look at pine trees and oak trees, then you're kind of parsing it out. And let's say in an area you're looking at height, right? Height on, this side of the mountain, oak trees and pine trees. Is there a difference? Think about the soil, think about the moisture, the nutrients and things. So in a biological sense, we take a look at that and we try to determine, is there really a difference in how these, for instance, trees can behave under this environment? So the same concept applies in running backs, looking at those that were highly consistent, middle, or lowly consistent. I don't know if that's a word, lowly consistent last year. And how do they do this year? You know, is it going to tell us something or not? Part of that is if you plot something called a box and whisker, and you can see here's the box, okay, and here's the whiskers. Okay? It's a little bit more than that, but just take a look at the visual. And the green were the running backs that were highly consistent last year. The blue were middle consistent, and the red were lowly consistent. And you could probably get a sense that, yeah, there's something completely different in these populations. So that's probably good news and probably means there is some predictive value from using last year's data. And again, you're saying, well, I see that on Twitter all the time. No, you don't see box and whiskers, and I'm going to take you through an ANOVA and Tukey HSD analysis. No, you don't see that. Yeah, people will pull out a fact or two and try to claim something. Uh, I understand, you know, they're working at the bottom up. I like the top down approach. I'm looking at the whole positions, and then we can kind of drill down and look at the players. But right now, we're just trying to look at the populations here and see if there's a difference. And this is about 66%. This box represents 66% of the population of the running backs that were high. And you can see that's pretty good. And here's middle and low. And then the whiskers represent about 90, was it 99 or something percent, almost everything with the whiskers. So that's almost a complete range here. There's some, you know, outliers as well. And, you know, how predictive is it? And again, we're looking at populations, not individuals right now. Okay. Next stop is we apply that tabular data that I generated a couple of slides ago, and we apply something called analysis of variance. There's a lot of numbers here. Don't go crazy. Okay. The key number is something called the median here. This is the median consistency number. And from running backs that were highly consistent last year, this year they were 37%. If they did median last year, they were about 21%. And if they were low last year, 16%. So right away you see, wow, this is almost close to double the middle running backs. So right away you're thinking, who do I want to draft? I want to stay in this population because you have a better shot at pulling out a highly consistent running back if they were highly consistent last year. I understand injuries, all sorts of things happen, right? We're looking at numbers, and again, I'm looking across multiple years as well. So it's the large numbers, large sample size. We're talking 77, 182 total. I mean, those are not just the largest numbers, but it's better than one. Okay, they're trying to make a conclusion off one piece of data. You don't do that at all. You need lots of data. So the mean here is very suggestive. So we look in at the probability that these numbers here, these means, are by random chance. In other words, there really is no difference, okay, is this just random? And there is the ANOVA answers that question, and it gives us a p-value. The p-value is, oh my God, it's 1.5 times 10 to the minus 14 uh, p-value, which means that it's less than 0.05, 5%, so that one or the more treatments is different. So that means there's something different in those populations. Okay, you're saying, well, who's different from who? Well, you can probably guess that the high running backs are different from the median, the middle, and the low, but we like to confirm that. So right now, all we know about the ANOVA is there is a difference. Think about it. You compare high, median, middle, high, low, middle, low. Okay, so you got three different comparisons. ANOVA doesn't tell us which one of those is different. It just says there is a difference in there. At least one of the three is different. Other words, it would be almost impossible for that numbers that I showed you previous to be by random chance. And that's as good as you'll get in fantasy stats, folks. Uh, so people argue that, their opinions, their gut takes and all this other stuff versus algorithms and stats. It's algorithms and stats is the way to lead you to fruitful area, right? I understand you still got to dig, you still got to draft, you still got to use your common sense, right? Gotcha. But I would rather pan for gold in a creek that people found gold before versus, down the street in the ditch. Okay. Okay. So that's the whole point of my process is trying to find these tidbits, these nuggets, and try to make some thoughts about them. Okay. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. We're not swilling cases of beer and woo wooing each other. Okay. Or whatever they do on the internet. I'm too damn old for all that crap. Here we go. So we use Tukey's highest significant difference test, and we compare the treatment pairs. So high to mid, high to low, mid to low, and this program will show you the probability that the difference is by random chance. Less than a 1% chance, less than a 1%, less than a 5%. So there's basically no chance that these numbers, these groups are actually the same. They're different. That means it's useful for predictability purposes for 2022. Dear, dear pundits out there, wake the F up, okay? Wake up. Uh, Here's the real deal. Okay. Uh, so it is what it is. And I do applaud the few of you that are listening. And that's fine. You'll have a better shot at winning your league, right? Anything's possible, right? You get in the playoffs, crazy crap happens. So nothing's a guarantee. But wouldn't it, again, isn't it nice to go where your higher success should be? And so now I'm pointing that way with my consistency numbers here. And let's take a look. And so I just went back to key running backs that had a high consistency value of 2020. And then I looked at them in 2021 and put a color to them if they were high, if they were median, or they pretty much were injured and didn't play. So those that were the highest in 2020 were these running backs here. And look at the green for 2021. Not bad. Only three uh, were high last year and middle this year. So there was some disappointments. Okay. It's not, green across the board, but was that 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 9 out of 12? That's not bad to be drafting in, seems to me. So that's what I'm showing you here. So what about 2021? Here are all those running backs that fit into the mold that were high last year. And remember, these were tended to be consistent again this year. We're hoping their prediction was 9 out of 12 in the last predictive round. So we're thinking, what is that, about 80% or something? So probably 80% of these guys are going to bring home the bacon for us here. There's some names here that are pretty much everybody's saying, yeah. I mean, there's no surprises, but there is a surprise or two. Look at James Robinson. Okay, I know ETN. Everybody's talking. All I can tell you, if the coaches are halfway awake, this man was very consistent for a running back in 2021, and he is going way late in drafts. He's, you know, uh, a scoop now person late in best ball and redrafts here. Who else is? Cordell Patterson. A lot of stuff happening in Atlanta. Got that. All I can tell you is what the data shows. Okay, he was consistent last year. They are talking Fournette up. Well, I agree. Fournette is in the mix. Uh, James White. People are wondering, is he? All I can say is when he was playing last year, I know there were injuries. He was bringing home the bacon too. So there are some obvious choices, but there are some that are maybe a little surprise to you. And, it is what it is. So I would definitely use this as, give them extra considerations, and let the ADP be your friend here. Don't draft James Robinson, over Jonathan Taylor. That's not what this is saying. This is just saying in this mixture, there's going to be some really consistent players for 2022. Why not pick some of these late ones that people maybe are down on? And best ball and things, it may pay off. Here's the medium or the mid group. That's pretty much a lot of the usual suspects, but they didn't quite make the grade in 2021. So I would not be as enthusiastic about them as people might be. Okay, so just be careful. And some that uh, did not have very good consistency or all are shown in red. So I would tend to fade them probably unless it's the last pick, free square off the board in a best ball or something. Okay, grab them, see what you got as a backup or some play. Well, I think that's fairly straightforward on the running backs. I gave you, the list to be predictive, right? You got to, the next step would be comparing the ADPs and doing some of that. I actually got that data. I'm going to get a little deeper still, a little drill down. But for now, for this lesson, I'm leaving you with this and let you listen to it again, think about things, go do your research. Now's the time. Plan your tricks and then apply them in the draft. The fact that you're listening to me puts you so far ahead of the game. And thank you for listening, by the way, and hanging out at the Science of Fantasy Football.com. Lots of good stuff. My partner in crime is tearing it up with his viewpoint as well. Well, this is what I do, and this is what I will continue to do. It may get a little dry sometimes. it is what it is. Okay, it's all about that. I'm about that data, boss. And so here we go. So come back. We'll continue our lessons with, I guess, tight ends and wide receivers coming in the next lessons here. Woo woo. Lots of fun.